you will go to the window menu and find Adobe Photoshop. It will take a few seconds to open it, even longer if it is the first time you've opened it. And this is what it looks like at the beginning. If you go to the File menu, you are going to see some options, and the one that I want you to choose is File New. This is going to give you the options on how to change the properties of your document before you get started with it. So you should see first off that you have a few different areas. Up here at the top you have some menus about recent, and that's going to be recent things you've done, any saved items, any photos that you have taken or are taking, whether it's going to be a print document, whether you are working on some sort of art or illustration, whether it's for the web, mobile, or film and video. So you see all from here over, you see all of these different settings, and it changes depending on which one you choose. Most of the time you are going to be asked to go to recent so that you can set up your own dimensions as to whatever they are. Sometimes it's going to be there, but this is where you'll do it. So if you have something saved to your clipboard, if you've done a Control-C recently, it detects that and it shows that here. So I have something that I have copied recently and it has it there. I can choose a default letter size, 8.5 inches by 11 inches. This orientation is up and down, vertical. This is what we call portrait. This one is landscape. So see, it switches it so the width is 11 and the height is 8.5. The resolution for this one is set at 300 pixels per inch. The more pixels per inch, the more clear and precise your document is going to look, but it's also going to increase the file size. So that's something that we'll talk about. Your color mode. If you click on that, you are going to notice that you have a few of them here. Bitmap, grayscale, RGB, which stands for red, green, blue, CMYK, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key actually is black, or lab color. So when we create graphics for the web or for computers, typically we're going to use RGB color. But if we're going to create something for print, we use CMYK because that is the colors that are in a printer. And there are two different color modes, and it's unbelievable when you work with things side by side. You'll notice exactly how different a color can be trying to get it to fit either on a web or on a piece of paper. Here you have custom. You can put in whatever you want. Notice also that you have the ability to name it here at the very beginning so that you don't forget later on. You also have the default Photoshop size, which is 7 by 5 inches. Now here at inches, you can also choose to set it up in pixels, centimeters, millimeters, points, or picas. We will almost always use pixels and inches, but you should know that those other options are available because depending on what you're working on, you may choose to do one of those. I'm going to start by just creating a 7 by 5 inch document. Oh, I missed down here below the color mode. See where it says background contents? There's a drop down menu. Here we have the ability to go ahead and make our background white. We can make our background black. We can choose a background color that is not white or black. And if you zoom down a little bit more, you have transparent, which means there's no background. And the one below that, that was the custom where you can go in and pick out your color. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and keep it transparent for now. If you look underneath that, you have some advanced options, which typically I don't even bother messing with, but it's something that you should understand is there. Okay? I always leave that at default. I'm going to hit create now. This checkerboard that you see is simply showing me that I don't have a background color. It is transparent. So those checkerboard squares don't actually show up in my web or print document, okay, because it is transparent. Along with Photoshop and all of the other Adobe software that you use, it's kind of set up very similar. You have a menu bar up here at the top. And each menu, while there's some that are in every single program, like File, Edit, Window, and Help, there are some that are very specific to the program. So here, under the File menu, we have New, Open. You can open Recent. You can close, save, export, print, exit, along with some other things. Edit, you have your basic cut, copy, paste, paste special, as well as some other Photoshop specific. Here you have some image manipulation, layers, type, or your text, your selections, and selections is big in Photoshop, filters, a 3D menu, view, different ways to set up the program to view it, window, and anytime you accidentally close a toolbar, a panel, or something else, you can find it under the window menu. Okay, so right now these check marks are showing me what I have open. Okay, but let's say for instance I want the brush panel open. If I click on it, now it's open. And then past the window menu we have help. And one of the things that you should learn about Adobe is they have a very good help system. You can go to the Adobe website and they have forums where you can log in with your account and search to find answers on how to do what you're trying to do. Also, Google is a great resource. If you can simply figure out how you want to word your question, it will help you as well. So here under Window, I have Workspace. Now, Workspace is simply how you set up all your panels to begin with. So by default, it's set up as Essentials. There's some that I don't particularly use all that often. Library, so I can exit out of that. Notice that when I click on those little double arrows, it expands that panel, and if I click on the tab, it allows me to move it. And what's nice is I can move panels around so that I can keep open just the ones that I need right now. So like I know that I don't need the character panel right now, so I'm going to close that tab group. I know I don't need properties and, well, actually I may. I'm going to leave that open. I can collapse by double clicking on a panel. I can, as I showed you before, move things so that I can better utilize my workspace. And again, I can collapse so that I can see what I'm doing. So for right now, the items that you want to keep open, because you use them all the time, are your layers panel, and for right now I want you to use your history panel. Other things you'll pop up as we go. Now with the layers panel, what that does is it allows you to order and separate different parts of your document to make it easier for you to edit later. The history panel, when you make an oops and you want to undo it, Control-Z is a keyboard shortcut to allow you to undo things. However, Photoshop only allows you to undo one time. So you use the history panel so that you can go back in time and go back to a place where you want to keep something saved. On the left, we have our toolbar, and it also can be moved all around the screen. And whenever you want to redock something, notice that I have this blue bar that pops up. That simply allows me to redock it. Okay. Up here we have our options, and the options change depending on which tool you have selected. So you notice that each time I click on a tool, this changes. Those are the options that go with that tool. So they change constantly. None of them are exactly alike. You may also notice that on your tools, most all of them have a little triangle at the bottom right corner. That triangle simply means that there are similar tools that are docked with it. So if this is called the rectangular marquee tool. Notice that when I leave my mouse over it, it gives me a tooltip. It pops up. So if I knew that I wanted a oval or elliptical marquee tool, it's pretty good chance that if I click and hold, I'm going to find that docked underneath it, because that's where all the marquee tools are. Here I have a lasso tool. I have other types of lasso tools as well. So you see what I mean, how there are similar tools that are docked together, and whichever one you use last stays open there. Okay, so you notice how crop is at the top of this one, but because I chose the slice tool, even though I move down and choose other ones, the slice tool is still there. So you need to remember that there are 4 tools that go with that one. You don't have to memorize all of them, but you do need to be able to find where they are. You'll also notice that there are letters here. Okay, so that's the letter C. So if I'm here, I know that by typing the letter C on my keyboard, that is a keyboard shortcut to go to the crop tool. All of them have one. It does make it easier to find things. You are not expected to memorize. We can make a printout to keep at your computer that would help you if that is something that you want to utilize. Now down here at the bottom of your toolbar, you have your color choices. Here is your foreground color, and I say it's foreground because it's in the front. Here is your background color because it's in the back. Black and white are your default colors, so that's why that little one is there in black and white. The arrows mean you flip-flop the foreground to the background and back and forth. And you can do that regardless of what colors are there. Here we have our quick mask mode. So when it is dark gray, it's on. When it's the light gray, it is off. And that's a way to help fine-tune a selection. Below this, we have different views. Right now we're in standard screen mode, but you also have full screen mode with menu bar and full screen mode period. And oftentimes you accidentally go into full screen and you don't know how to get out. Okay? If you hit escape, that will take you out. But those are your screen modes. Now, under the File menu, when we do a Save As, by default, we want to save all of our Photoshop documents as a Photoshop document. You see the file extension .psd. What that does is it allows us to save the document in a manner that we can later open it up and edit it. Okay, so we always save as a PSD. Once we finish a document and we're ready to publish it, whether that publishing is to a website, to your Canvas portfolio, or to print, that is when you also save as something else. So we have lots of different options here. The ones that you will most commonly do might be a Photoshop PDF, a PNG, a JPEG, and notice there's 3 different types of JPEG. The one we would use would be the very first one. And then you have a CompuServe GIF file, or GIF file, depending on how you like to pronounce it.